We shall now be shifting gears a little as we welcome our second speaker for today, who will give a talk on a very powerful instrument to speak, social media. She was granted the Doctors Gregorio and Rizalina Lim Professorial Chair Award. Let me call on one of our consultants from the Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus Division, Dr. Andrea Cristina Monzon Pajarillo, to introduce the woman of the hour.
So, good morning. It is my honor to present to you today our Doctors Gregorio and Rizalina Lim Professorial Chair Awardee, Dr. Alvina Pauline Santiago. But how do you introduce a professor with a 54-page, single-spaced curriculum vitae in 5 minutes? I will do my best, but I am sure that everything I will say is just the tip of the iceberg. My slide background is a sky full of stars because that is exactly what Dr. Santiago is. A luminary defined as a natural light-giving body or a person who inspires or influences others, especially one prominent in a particular sphere. Dr. Santiago is currently an Associate Professor 3 of the UP College of Medicine. She's a member of the carefully handpicked Board of Trustees of the Philippine Board of Ophthalmology, where she co-heads the Credentials and Ethics Committees and actively works in the Medical Education and Examination Committees. She is the Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus Division Chief in 3 big hospitals, namely UPPGH, St. Luke's Medical Center, and the Medical City. She's the chairperson of the ROP Working Group of the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology and heads the Credentials Committee of the Medical City Eye and Vision Institute. Dr. Santiago has been a consistent honor student throughout her education from elementary at the Immaculate Conception Academy to college in the University of the Philippines, graduating cum laude from her pre-med course and hailed as the Bailon de la Rama Scholar in the UP College of Medicine. She received her training in ophthalmology at the UP Philippine General Hospital, where she served as the assistant chief resident. In the years 1994 to 1997, she went overseas to pursue not just one, but 2 fellowships in pediatric ophthalmology and strabismus at the Children's Eye Care Center in New Jersey and the Jules Stein Eye Institute in UCLA. The wisdom and expertise she acquired at this time enabled her to publish a textbook in clinical strabismus management together with her former teacher in UCLA. Until now, this book is still considered a Bible by strabismus specialists all over the world. Over the years, Dr. Santiago's daily schedule has been packed with service work for different sectors of society. For ophthalmologists, she served in the Executive Council of the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology and the Philippine Society of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus. She actively advocated for patients as a medical and technical advisor in the Down Syndrome Association of the Philippines, the Parent Advocates for Visually Impaired Children, and the World Health Organization Regional Office. She continues to elevate the quality and standards of the academe with her contributions to the National Institutes of Health, the Philippine Eye Research Institute, and numerous international and local scientific journals. Since returning to the Philippines, Dr. Santiago's professional career has been a powerhouse, producing a total of 68 publications of 3 books, 16 book chapters, 33 articles in international journals, 13 articles in local journals, and 3 digital publications, 11 of which are winning papers. She has been given 14 awards and recognitions, most notable of which are the PAO Outstanding Educator Award, the Most Outstanding Alumna of the PGH Department of Ophthalmology Award, the Rotary Club Outstanding Service Award, and the UP International Publication Award. She has been invited to speak in international and local conferences, on TV and radio shows over 100 times. Apart from her published works, she has continuing research work with 6 completed and 3 ongoing. Being the excellent multitasker that she is, while doing all the things mentioned earlier, she is still able to wear several other important hats. A devoted mother to Ryan, a lifelong learner who does not settle with an MD in her name but continues to pursue master's degrees, perhaps even PhDs down the line. A mentor to as of now 18 pediatric ophthalmology graduates of UPPGH, a true fur parent to 18 dogs and 4 cats, a professional baker, an international celebrity in the field of pediatric ophthalmology and strabismus, a talented artist, and who knows what else she will be in the coming years. With her, anything is possible. Students learn more from who you are than what you teach. And Dr. Santiago is a perfect example of this statement. I consider myself her student until now, still learning and continuously being inspired by all her accomplishments every day. So without further ado, I now present my mentor, my rock star, Dr. Pauline Santiago, as she talks about creating a social media policy for the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology.
Thank you very much, Iya. I never saw my CV the way you saw it. Okay. I thought I was going to lecture on congenital NLDO so that it jives with the lecture of Dr. Tan, but I'm not prepared for that. I'm prepared to lecture on creating a social media policy or the social media policy that we created for the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology. For the residents, this comes out in your board exams. I'd like to thank the family of Doctors Gregorio and Rizalina Lim. And like our chair, I couldn't find any information about them. But I'd like to thank them anyway for this professorial chair. Um, Thank you very much for the support of the department for giving me this opportunity. Okay, I have no financial disclosures except these are my institutions. Okay, so this is our outline today. We'll talk about the birth of the PAO social media policy, what we did in the PAO Social Media Summit, and then maybe we'll give you some examples of how we should behave in social media and how we should not behave in social media, and maybe harnessing the strength of social media. Okay, so at the end, our objectives include your ability to enumerate events that may shape the creation of a social media policy for an organization, discuss the process of creating a social media policy, give examples of how to behave and how not to behave, and find some ways or enumerate some ways to harness your social media for education, expert opinion, and professional purposes. Okay, so the first topic is the birth of the social media policy. I was a member of the PAO Council in 2018 to 2019, where I served as the Ethics Committee Chair. At that time, we had the PAO Code of Ethics to look at, and it's implementing rules and guidelines, or the IRG. We also had the PAO Code of Professional Conduct and the PMA Code of Ethics in 2008. Even if you're not taught this, you have to look for it. They're all available online. Okay, so at that time, we only had a manifesto that told us how to behave in social media. So this is social media and medical professionalism by the Health XPH group. But for the society or for our members, there was really no policy. So there was no clear policy. And for a generation of ophthalmologists that grew up with social media, there were no rules. No? Kasi your parents did not know how to use social media. So you were the ones using social media and you created your own rules. You wrote down everything on social media, you posted everything on social media. So we needed to come up with a policy that will be acceptable also to the users of social media or our very young colleagues. So we created a social media summit in 2019. As ethics committee members and as a member of the council, we did not want it to come from the council. Okay, so we created a group of members that will create an acceptable social media policy for us. So they were neither council nor ethics committee members, but the members in this group were nominated by subspecialty societies, training institutions, and chapter societies. We also had non-PAO members, four of whom were non-OFTA doctors. We had an MD-JD, we had the PhD IT professor, we had a medical student at the time who was an MD PhD student of the UP College of Medicine. We had the priest, ethicist, ex-medical student who was well-versed in ethics. We had an ICT director who was also an ex-medical student so that they understood the nuances that goes on in the life of medicine. And we had a marketing and IT professional. For the PAO members who were elected to join this group, there were 7 consultants of training institutions, 5 residents in training, and 4 representatives of chapter societies. So remember, they were not council nor ethics committee members. So we presented 12 scenarios. These were the scenarios that were presented. We will go through most of them in the later slides. Okay, so what we did was we divided the group into 6 groups. So there were 26 members, about 6 groups that made 4 to 5 members per group. So 2 scenarios were assigned to each group. They were presented in plenary. Their advocacies or their advice about how to behave about these scenarios were presented in the plenary. The plenary voted about their recommendations. If 75% voted yes, they were included in the uh, social media policy. If 50% voted yes, we had to revote, we had to argue, we had to support our recommendations, and we revoted. If the revote exceeds 75%, they were included in the policy. If they did not reach the critical mass of 75%, they were not included in the policy. Okay, so it was accepted that we will not go against existing laws and codes, which includes, and maybe there is probably more, but this includes your Cybercrime Prevention Act, Data Privacy Act, and your PMA code. Your PMA code, at the time we published this, also soon after came up with the PMA Code of Ethics and the PRC Code of Ethics, which is what you should probably read now. And then your PAE Code of Ethics and your PA Code of Professional Conduct. This is accessible online. You can download this. This is how your handbook looks. I think it has changed in appearance, but the content is still the same. Okay, so here are some examples. How should we behave in social media? On posting about your practice, you can make your practice known. But the first PMA Code of Ethics, or 2008 Code of Ethics, had this to say that you needed only to post your name, your field of specialty, your office hours, and your hospital affiliation. The act of physicians publishing their superiority was discouraged or was frowned upon. Okay, so this is actually in your PMA Code of Ethics. So you have to be careful with how you design your social media sites for patients. Hindi pa naman tayo susumbo, hindi pa tayo if you violate, you're going to have punitive charges or ano ba? I can't find the word. Anyway, if somebody complains about it, then you're in trouble. Okay, so you might as well do your own self-check, check your social media sites, check if you're following our code of ethics. Okay, if you post, if your institution will advertise services, you have to exercise self-audit and prudence before reposting. So you have to look at the advertisements and see if there's anything that goes against our code. You can post about recruitment in trials as long as this is written in your protocol. Okay, and you state it so that you have been approved by an ethics review board to post about it. If you appear in ads of your centers, review it so that it does not violate already existing code of ethics of both the PMA and the PAO. If your picture shows a logo, like in this case, there's Zeiss, if you are connected to the company in any way, you have to state it. This is a policy related to declaring conflicts of interest. Okay. Now, the more fun part is when you have to post or comment online. When something irks you, do not engage online. Take the discussion offline. When you consult or crowdsource for opinion or management, be careful with potential identifiers despite anonymization. Just an example, when I was in a conference, I talked about a 55-year-old male farmer from Negros, and everybody in the room knew exactly who the patient was. I was talking about a morbidity after endoscopic sinus surgery that failed, and it probably was a celebrated case and discussed by the group that I was lecturing to. Okay, you can post milestones. but you have to be wary of protecting patient privacy. You have to be wary about these kinds of posts. No? Okay. And then you're encouraged to separate your private life from your official medical life. Okay. This is a famous doctor on social media as an influencer who actually got in hot water because he posted that picture on the left during COVID times when there were restrictions. Okay. So be careful what you endorse. So we probably will not find somebody who will endorse a cigarette now, no? But this is a true ad of Camel cigarettes. Okay, so for us, you have to be careful about endorsing contact lenses, intraocular lenses, eyeglasses, eye drops, etc. Okay, so you can post videos for education and training. Your content must be purely educational, not self-aggrandizement. And it is recommended that the intended audience for the post is stated. Okay, so this is disclosure. I am a paid consultant by ABCD, or I am a recipient of the professorial chair grant of Doctors Gregorio and Rizalina. Okay, so you have to declare. Okay, on airing of grievances and complaints, don't. Okay, so you cannot write something like this. Patient is late again today. Perhaps I should start charging for more. It doesn't. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth, and it doesn't look well for you as a physician. Even if you think that you're only sharing this to friends, a friends of your friends can see this, and it will get back to you. So do not complain about your patients in open platforms. You should not complain about PGH, your institution, or PhilHealth or MMDA in the open platform also. Magpigil na lang tayo. As a physician, you are expected to know the right channels. Ako pigil na pigil. Okay. So for connecting with patients, it is your choice, but you have to be careful what you wish for. It may come back to haunt you in the years ahead of you. Okay. So here are some examples of how we should not behave in social media. This is a hypothetical case. Now, for example, I had my flex procedure done and can see better than I ever did at my Doc P eye center. So come see me so you can reach the same level of vision. It goes against solicitation, advertising, conflict of interest, and you are actually endorsing a procedure. So this is a video of or footage of a video. Patient was actually giving birth, but it was New Year, so the staff decided to post this. So if you can see that patient is still writhing in pain, and I'm sure they did not get her consent to post this. This is in a delivery room. I forget where it was. Okay. Or if you are an obstetrician, you cannot be seen saying this. This mom can't even breastfeed her baby. So for your patient shaming, you are a doctor that posted about this, and where sometimes other doctors who are your friends will join in patient shaming. So that doesn't look good both for you and the doctors that shames your patient. Okay. We do a lot of this. We reshare, but sometimes we forget to ascribe the sharing to the original poster. No? So don't forget that this one, I reposted it, but it clearly shows where it came from. It came from the PAO Eye Care page. But if I just copied and pasted it, it will look like I created the post. Okay, so you have to be sure that you ascribe it. Okay. So this one is correct, the other one is wrong. Okay. We've got a lot of fake news. No? As physicians, your patients will believe you or your friends will believe you. If I reposted the obituary of Steven Spielberg is actually not dead. He's very much alive. But be careful what you repost. Okay, so do some fact checking, and if you're unable to check it, don't share it. Okay. Okay, what can you do to harness naman the strength of social media? We all have to create digital footprints so we can harness it to our advantage. So you can use it, for example, to educate, to promote advocacies, to network, to market your practice to some extent. You can get practice management advice. You can actually refer patients also online. You can do casual talk. You can establish friendship. You can find a mate, which I did not, I was not successful in. You can make your opinion or issues known, and sometimes you can even search for a job. Okay, so these are some examples. PAO is on social media. This is our patient-friendly page, as icare.pao. So we post here some infographics, and we talk to them about how to safely wear contact lenses, smoking, etc. No? So there are a lot of infographics on that page, which you can share on your page. Now, just make sure that it shows that it came from the PAO. Okay, even the Philippine Society of Pediatric Ophthalmologists is on social media. I'm not sure this will, okay. This is one of our most famous uh, blue light, blue light infographic. It has been shared by our colleagues from Malaysia. It was translated to Chinese and Malay, but of course, they ascribed it to the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology, or the PACEPOS. Okay, so and sa Pilipinas, uh, we've translated it to Bicol yata yan, imbis na Bico, and Bisaya. Bakit hindi lumalabas? Ba't Bico and Bisaya lang? Okay, Bicol and Bisaya. Okay. Now, sometimes there are some of us who post about our success in surgery, no? So, look at your post and evaluate if you're doing it for education or are you doing it for entertainment, no? So, medutainment. So, pag medutainment, siyempre you frown upon it. So, in a case with thyroid, for example, um, although this looks better on the page, it has more impact. You can get your point across with just the eyes. Okay, di ba? So the patient is less recognizable. So mas hindi nakakahiya for your patient. Okay, some other professionals on social media include Dr. Glaucom Flecken. He's obviously a glaucoma guy and very famous in the social media circle as an influencer also. Dr. Kevin Fo is a leading social media physician voice and has a lot of posts about um, doctors, nurses, medical students, policies, and physician suicide, etc., no, and wellness. Okay. So we've talked about this. You can use your professional social media page to do this, but be careful what you post. Make sure it aligns with the PAO Code of Ethics. During the pandemic, we used a lot of social media for telemedicine, but we are cautioning you to use better platforms. Okay, not the open platforms. Although I know it's easier to reach your patient by Messenger and Facebook, there are better platforms that are probably also free that you can use, no? That is more secure with your sensitive patient data. Okay, LinkedIn is a professional social media network that you can use um, to probably put up your CV, which is technically not allowed by our code of ethics. So because this is a professional networking site. Okay. So PAO is on social media. If you don't know, you have to look for it because it puts their announcements there. You have these official announcements on the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology site. We also use it to remind patients and doctors and mothers about certain um, topics like ROP. We've also used it to create a Philippine ROP network to identify your treatment centers, your screening centers. For example, if you click on Socsargen Region 12, you will find the names of Red and Maan as providers of ROP training and ROP training, screening, and treatment. Okay, but you also know which areas do not have treaters. So in conclusion, we talked about how to create a social media policy. We talked about considering your stakeholders' input. We have to remember that social media is a public space, but you can harness it for its strengths. But remember to uphold the integrity of the Filipino IMD when you are in social media. Okay, so these are my references. And let me end with don't say anything online that you want plastered on a billboard with your face on it. Thank you very much.
Congratulations and thank you, Ma'am Pauline, for that very novel and rather articulate talk. And thank you for laying down the groundwork for on how physicians, especially ophthalmologists, should regulate and monitor their online presence. Someone has to job. Thank you for doing that. To give his reaction for our second talk for today, we have Glaucoma Division Consultant who also serves as our residency training officer, and furthermore is the very hardworking head of the UPPGH IPPAO. I have never received that much emails from UP before you came, sir. Let us all welcome Dr. Cesar Perez Jr.
Good morning and thank you very much, Dr. Pauline Santiago. Disclosure, yan nga. I'm a present member of the PAO Executive Council. So Dr. Santiago is proposing a creation of a social media policy. I'm a present member of the Executive Council of PAO. I'm a present member of the Ethics Committee. And for the university, I'm heading the Information Office, no, or the IPAO. So just to reiterate some points, no, I requested to post again the objectives of what Dr. Santiago mentioned this morning. So I think more than 90% of us here in this room has a social media account. Okay? Not all of us here are eye doctors. Kaya nga hindi 100%. Siguradong meron. Pero majority, no? Almost all of us have social media presence, social media accounts, okay? Not all of us here are eye doctors. So what Dr. Santiago lectured on this morning is for specifically for eye doctors. But of course, being medical professionals, we all learn, no, as doctors how to conduct ourselves as professional doctors, as persons of trust, okay, especially with our patients. And social media is an extension of that practice. So if we don't conduct ourselves as professionally as we can, being eye doctors, being ophthalmologists, or being medical doctors, then there's something wrong. Okay? So she started that there's a need to create a policy. Kasi kung wala namang pakilahat, bakit pa tayo gagawa ng policy? But there's a need, okay? We cannot practice the kanya-kanya lang, bahala na kung ano nangyari. So she mentioned there was a summit between among the PAO, na Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology, to create a consensus, no, of a policy to guide Filipino eye doctors how to conduct themselves in social media. So all sectors were invited, not just eye doctors, dahil wala namang monopoly ng information sa eye doctors, para lang magkaroon ng debate and finally finalization of a policy. And they did not even start from scratch. They were guided by existing laws and policies, no, yung mga code of ethics na existing, PMA code of conduct, PMA code of ethics as well. So they derive their final output based on what's present na nag-guide sa atin as medical professionals. So eventually, ano yon? So ang mga general term, di ba, is yung examples how to behave is proper disclosures as a practicing doctor, paano kayo mag-engage sa patients, how to anonymize, no, yung mga pertinent information and data na gusto nyong i-share or ayaw nyong i-share. Patient privacy, no, very basic tenet of ethics in medicine, and how to separate your personal and medical point of views in social media. It's like, again, talking to your patients, no? You don't talk to your patients your trip in Baguio, no, your trip in Boracay. Di ba naman i-share yun kung wala namang kinalaman dun sa condition ng patient. It's also like that in social media. It's an extension. So Dr. Santiago gave us what are proper posts to share. No, ano yung content na i-share? Educational. Okay? So that's part of our jobs as doctors. We educate, we inform, proper information, proper basic medical information to our patients. Now, by doing so, we have to declare our interest. Sometimes meron tayong mga affiliations na baka vested interest na pala yung binibigay natin without minsan even knowing. Of course, minsan known na nga, dinadivulge pa. Pero sana kung halimbawa hindi, mas maganda na i-declare na rin yon first hand pa lang. And then, wag sanang mag-air nga ng grievances, ng complaints. There are proper venues, okay, for complaints and grievances always, not just in social media. What not to post, conflicts of interest, patient shaming, post that specially shared pero hindi naman nasa site yung mga original mga postings, and of course you fact check your mga posts. Walang fake news. Wag na tayong makidagdag pa dun sa mga mali, pangit at hindi karapat-dapat na impormasyon na nakikita natin at umaabot sa mga pasyente natin. And social media is there. Okay? Hindi siya mawawala for the next few years. So being practitioners in medicine, let's harness its strengths. No? Marami siyang mga features na pwede nating magamit sa ating profession, sa ating pakikitungo sa patients. So educate, okay, your followers if you have a lot of followers. It can harness partnerships between you and other parang allied medical professionals. You can also strengthen your advocacies being doctors. Dr. Santiago has many advocacies, not just being an eye doctor. So she harnesses the social media strengths by doing so. And choose your platforms well. No? Ang dami. Maraming available na platforms. There's your Facebook, there's your X, there's your Instagram and TikTok. Pero nandyan lang siya. Pero yung reputation nyo as medical doctors, okay, will be more precious than these, okay, social media platforms. So again, hopefully, the listeners gain some information about what Dr. Santiago lectured on us, and it's still a process, okay? So the need for improvement is always there. It's perennial. Pero yung reputation natin minsan kasi it's sometimes mabilis na matarnish kapag merong hindi magandang nakuha sa atin. So hopefully everybody learn from what Dr. Santiago shared with us this morning. So thank you very much, Pauline.
Thank you very much, Sir Cesar. Now we've now almost reached the end of our program. To formally close this morning's Mentos event, I'd like to call on none other than our immediate past department chair herself, Dr. Marissa N. Balbuena. Ma'am Marie.
Good morning. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Alex Tan and Dr. Pauline Santiago for delivering very excellent lectures this morning. I appreciate our professorial chair lectures because they highlight the expertise of our faculty, and I share my pride in these two faculty members. Thank you very much also to the sponsors or the George Camara and Doctors Rizalina, Gregorio and Rizalina Lim family for hosting these professorial chairs. I thank also the reactors and you listeners in sharing your morning with us. And I look forward to next year's professorial chair lectures. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Marie. So that officially ends our program this morning. On behalf of the entire department, our speakers, Doctors Alexander Tan and Alvina Pauline Santiago, our reactors, the Professorial Chair Committee headed by our Chief Resident, Dr. Darren Ko, and his Assistant Chief Resident, Dr. Kochi Lim. We'd like to thank everyone again for attending and sharing your time with us this morning.